Ever believe becoming a millionaire was only possible after you're completely debt-free? We've all thought that. The traditional wisdom says debt is enemy number one, and you can't even dream about saving or wealth until you slay that dragon. But here's the twist. What if waiting to pay off debt first is exactly what's keeping you from ever becoming wealthy? Hey, I'm Steve Rode, the old get-out-of-debt guy, and as always is Damon Day, the new get-out-of-debt guy. Say hello, Damon.
Hello, Damon.
Together, we're blending decades of hard-earned wisdom and fresh insights in our brand new series, The Stupid Simple Millionaire. Today, we'll share surprisingly simple steps to grow your wealth. Yes, even if you're still dealing with debt, because here's the secret no one talks about. Building wealth doesn't have to be complicated. It can actually be stupid simple. If this is already hitting home for you, boop that like button and show us some love. It helps more people find this podcast and this message. Ready to rewrite?
Row Shaggy. Row.
Let's dive in, Damon. Well, the show's good, but not perfect.
The inspiration for today's podcast actually comes from one of our new listeners, Stacy. So shout out to Stacy. I spoke with her a couple of days ago. Spoke with her a couple of days ago. New listener found our show, and her situation kind of inspired this one, where I wanted to really do a deeper dive, because we've talked about all this stuff before, but I wanted to really hone in and do a deeper dive today on this idea of the stupid simple stuff, where we're doing those side hustles, driving for DoorDash, driving for Instacart, but using that money not to get excited about making $100 driving for DoorDash, but how that money could translate into literally millions with an M of dollars for you in retirement, just by driving a freaking car in the afternoon or evenings in your spare time.
Damon, there have been people over many years of my life that I have loved and cared about and tried to share and get this message across, only to be met with lots of blank stares and people saying, you know what, that sounds good, but I don't have the time now, or I'm trying to dig my way out of debt, or whatever. And here's what they all lose. And it's the easiest thing that people can do right now. It's not the investment that you're in. It's not the savings account. It's not even how much money that you save every month. The one factor that you can never get back and is the most important to having that $1 million, it's time. If you don't start today and you lose time, you lose magnifying the end number when you get there. And it's just so critical. During the show today, Damon's got a bunch of numbers that he's already run.
A bunch of numbers.
Yeah, to show you what that actually turns into. But, so if you're limping along month to month right now, and you don't think that you have any extra money to invest or save or anything else, in a minute we're going to talk about how you can easily do that. But first, if we can show you how to make some extra money every month, and then you just, instead of spending it, just put it immediately into some sort of saving vehicle, and we're going to show you just exactly how stupid simple that is, you will end up being a millionaire. That's the fact. Now, here's what's going to happen, Damon. A lot of people are going to say, that's ridiculous. That can't be.
Just the facts, ma'am.
I'm broke. There's no way I can do it. I'm too deep in debt. But none of that is really factually true. So let me give you an example. On our show last week, we talked about a bunch of different apps. I'd written a post on getoutofdebt.org about apps you can use to help start making and saving money. I'll link to that in the description for this podcast. But one of the apps that we talked about was Acorns. And Acorns is one of those apps. They're really there are two in my book, and I'm going to tell you about the other one coming up. But Acorns is one of the apps that allows you to round up your spending. I think Bank of America used to, or maybe still offers a savings account like that if you're a customer. But with Acorns, it rounds up your spending and then it puts it into an investment account. So you spend 70 you spend 75 cents on something, it will automatically take the other 25 cents and invest it. So this is, it occurred to me, Damon, that in the past, when we actually had change, right? You come home at the end of the day and you take the change out of your pocket and throw it in that jar or bottle or whatever. And then you could cash that in. This approach of using digital spare change is the modern equivalent. So let me give you an example. Just in the one day, so I set this up and said, use my spare change, and I want to invest $20 a week. So every week, it's just going to be a recurring $20 on top of my spare change. Just in my first day alone on this thing, if I just did this for the next 20 years, I would have $64,000. However, if I was young enough to do this for 40 years, I'd have $364,000 just in spare change and $20 a week. So we can't sneeze at that. Damon, you want to talk about the numbers first, or you want to talk about this other app that I found?
We're talking about apps, so might as well stick with the apps, and then we can dive into numbers and some practicality here.
Okay. So the two apps that I want you to think about. Oh, and in the description for this podcast, I'm going to put a referral link for Acorns.
I was hoping you'd do that. I was going to actually make you do that if you didn't, because Steven's usually resistant to doing that.
And people that do that get some sort of matching number in their account when they use it. So, I'm going to put that in the description. So the two apps that really intrigued me the most, I went back, and while I talked about general apps in the previous podcast, this time I was focusing only on apps that made becoming a millionaire just stupid simple. Rounding up, the digital pocket change, that kind of thing. And I only really found two. One is Acorns, investing your spare change. And Acorns just does automated investing and has some other interesting accounts, like their savings account pays, what did you find out, like 4% or something?
Yeah, it's a little over 4%.
Okay, and their checking account,
5,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, 257.
257. Yeah.
But here's the most important part. They pay Rock to be on all the promos. The Rock is involved.
Well,
so
if Rock's involved,
Wayne the Rock Johnson, and get that Mighty Oak debit card. I like the spread. I like the marketing.
Well, so I mean, 2.57% for a checking account is more than your current checking account is paying you. But there is a monthly fee. You can start for like $3 a month. So if you've only got $25 in your savings account and you never contribute anything else, $3 a month doesn't make any sense. However, if that balance gets up to 100, 200, 300, and it's growing, $3 is nothing. So it's worth paying attention to. The other thing is that Acorns does have some comprehensive financial tools if you want to get more into investing. Those will be things for future shows, but they do have those features. So Damon, here's the other one that really intrigues me.
Real quick, before we leave Acorns, what I really like, I'm 47. I got 3 kids, 18 and younger. What I like about Acorns is they have what they call Acorns Early. So if you have kids, you can set up your kids, obviously, with a checking account and a savings, but more importantly, you can set up your kids with an investment account and even an IRA if they're 13 or older. And it's really simple, does the same rounding up and everything. So, if you want to teach your kids about money, they have a debit card here. You can put the money, for their allowance in there, whatever. And then when your kids go out and they buy that pizza after school, their change is getting rounded up into a retirement account for them at 15 years old. Talk about starting early. They have a retirement account already before they even graduate high school. It's, again, stupid simple.
Yeah, and we're going to give people some numbers, about how if they started that young, one of the examples that we had that you're going to talk about is they could end up having $16 million, when they retired at 7.
We're talking generational wealth here.
Yeah.
Stupid simple generational wealth.
Yeah.
So is that JP Morgan? No, that was just a kid that did some DoorDash when he was younger.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Wang. He was the geek in school. He's now got $16 million. So we're going to get into all this. So I don't want to get ahead of myself too much. But the other app that I found that was really interesting is called Qapital, but you spell it with a Q. It's super weird. Qapital.
Very new age.
Somebody thought that was clever marketing.
Qapital.
But Qapital. I actually had to figure out it's actually pronounced capital, but we can call it Qapital. So it does the same sort of rounding up thing. And you can start with like a low amount. You don't have to contribute anything. You just start with your spare change. But here's the thing that really intrigued me about Qapital.
I think we should coin that for them. It's Qapital.
Yeah, it's Qapital. Is that you can set up a savings rule. Like you're going to put $5 in savings every time you post on Instagram, or every time I go to Starbucks, I'm going to put an extra $2 in savings. So you can.
Can you set it to where like for your kids, like every time they scroll on Facebook or something? Is there a way to do that?
You could probably do something like that.
Like you're going to have $1 is going to come out of your account and go into your savings every time you spend longer than 3 minutes doom scrolling. Kids don't doom scroll Facebook. They doom scroll Instagram and crap chat or whatever the things are these days.
Well, but so here's the thing about it. Yeah, because you could set up goals for your family or friend or whatever, where if you do something, it will trigger saving money in your account. So
every time you tell your mother, I love you, $1 will go from her account to your account.
Well, as long as you tell her digitally. It's got to be tracked. So Qapital has a monthly fee as low as $3 also. And it's only an app. There's no desktop version that gives you all the capabilities. But so which app should you pick? So I'm going to put the link to the post because I break it down, pros and cons of each of these. Again, another link in the description. Acorns is perfect if you want a simple, hands-off way to grow your money. You need investing made stupid simple, and you want to have banking services and long-term financial planning. Now, Qapital might be ideal if you're motivated by fun or gamifying savings, or you want to have creative ways to save, and you enjoy customizing the rules that really reflect your life. So both of those are really interesting. I am signed up on Acorns, and so is Damon. And we have not tried Qapital. So I have to give you the standard disclaimer. Check it out for yourself. Don't be a dumbass.
That's the standard disclaimer. Don't be a dumbass.
That's the standard. Don't be a dumbass. As I always say, Damon, there is a fine line between being a badass and a dumbass. All right. So Steve, Damon, I have no money each month to save. That's ridiculous. Listening any further is just stupid. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it might be stupid, but it's stupid simple because we're going to show you how to make magical money.
Magical money.
In 1 minute. But first, I'm going to tell you the first thing that's going to come to your mind is all the reasons why you can't do it, which should be followed by all the reasons you won't be a millionaire.
Yeah.
All right, Damon.
So Steve, because people usually will say, here's all the reasons why I don't have time and I can't do it. Mm-hmm. What did we start 2 years ago? As you take a drink.
A Penny Stupid Project.
We started the Penny Stupid Project. For those longtime listeners of a week that we have, you know what the Penny Stupid Project is. But back in 2022, Steve and I started doing a lot of these little side hustles because as financial consultants, we heard all the time, all the reasons, all the excuses. I can't make extra money because I can't do this, I can't do that. Oh, why don't you try Uber? Why don't you try DoorDash? Oh, I can't do it because I don't have time. I can't do that. I'm not going to deliver burrito. Whatever it is. I heard all of the excuses. So I finally said, you know what? Let's try this stuff. I'm game. I'm a gamer. I'll go deliver a freaking burrito. Let's see if I can make some money at it. And Steve, that first month I did Lyft, and you just kind of followed along in your office while I did all the work. But I digress.
I think I did one delivery.
Oh, you did do one delivery. You did one road, and then you quit. Yeah. Steve's a typical client. No, actually, he just found a smarter way to make money. So, but I made over $6,000 that first month. Now, granted, I drove my ass off. Results aren't typical. I was just all excited and motivated. But fast forward to 2.5 years later, I do things very, very differently. I don't drive very often, but when I do, I usually average $40 an hour. Granted, results aren't typical. I live in an affluent area. It depends on a lot of factors. But even if you're not out there able to make $40 an hour, if you can make 20, 25, and I'm talking about my main apps, Uber, Lyft, Walmart grocery delivery, Instacart, and DoorDash, right? These are all simple things you can go out and do. Just today is Thursday. Tuesday evening, I went out. I had really nothing going on. It was like 6 o'clock at night. I went out and drove for 3 hours and I made $140. Did a couple of Walmart deliveries, a couple of Uber Eats deliveries, and a couple of DoorDash deliveries. It was $140. So all that is kind of said. So when we start talking about investing $500 a month, investing $1,000 a month, investing $2,000 a month, before you roll your eyes and go, where the hell am I going to get $2,000 to invest? There are so many opportunities out there for you to make magical part-time money over and above what you're making at your job and covering your normal bills. And I know it doesn't sound sexy, and DoorDash doesn't sound sexy, and Uber Eats doesn't sound sexy. I don't want to deliver burritos. I don't want to do this. Making $140 on the side on Tuesday night doesn't sound sexy. But when I show you how you can turn that into $5 million, it gets a little sexier.
Yeah, it's probably sexy.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, come again? Oh, how far do I got to drive that burrito for $5 million? Okay.
Well, there are other side hustles that somebody can do other than driving
absolutely.
or delivery.
Oh,
but those are the easiest to get started with right now and start making money by next week.
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't matter what the side hustle is. I recommend finding something that you actually enjoy doing. Ironically, I really enjoy getting out and driving. I got a Tesla a couple years ago for the Penny Stupid Project because I'm like, well, hey, I'm driving, I'm spending gas. Let's have an excuse to get a Tesla. And I love that damn car. In fact, my wife loves it so much, she's always stealing it. We have to coordinate. She's always like, are you going to go out driving later? Because I want to use the Tesla. I'm like, no, you can take the Tesla. I'm just here working in the office.
Yeah.
But you can do whatever it is that you want. And again, if you can find something that you enjoy, all the better. But I like actually getting out driving. It gives me time to listen to the Get Out of Debt Guy podcast when I'm alone in the car, driving around. The burritos don't care what I got going on, what podcast I'm listening to, but I enjoy it after a long day in the office, getting out, just having some quiet, some solitude, and just, alone with my thoughts. I enjoy that a lot. And I actually look forward to doing that because it's mindless. It's simple and easy. And I actually enjoy trying to figure out how I can squeeze the most amount of dollars out of the time that I'm out there using. That's how I got to the point where I am able to make $40 an hour, which is very unusual in gig work. But I studied it and I tracked it and I learned when the good times to go out were, when the bad times to go out were, and what apps you should use at what time of the day and how to use them in combination with each other and all this stuff. But let's jump into the numbers before I get too
before
deep.
You do that, I'm going to create a new service for you that you and
Uh-oh.
I have not talked about, which is if you want to set up a paid consult with Damon.
What?
Right? And you want him to help coach you through how to get going. I'm sure he's going to charge you for it because time
Should
is
you
money.
have consulted with me first before you are offering this service?
I know you two will. You can go to his website, DamonDay, DamonDay.com, and fill out the contact form, and he'll set you up with something. Because Damon, too many people take a quick look at it, and they go, I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. Because before we get into the numbers, I want you to walk us through the typical excuses that you've heard.
I could call it On the Road with Damon, and I can schedule those calls only when I'm out delivering.
Absolutely.
And I can do those calls on the road.
Absolutely.
Hold on. I got a DoorDash for Phil. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah. No reason why you can't.
That would actually be kind of funny.
People need guidance. They need your wisdom in doing this because you proved how it works. But anyway,
I could do some YouTube lives when I'm out. Some of the videos, if you go to the Penny Stupid channel, I do videos where I'm showing you my deliveries and how I do it and all that stuff. It's all on YouTube. It's all there. So excuses. We're talking about excuses.
Yeah.
Oh, people got a lot of excuses, Steve. The big one always is, I don't have time. I'm too busy. I don't have time. Well, hey, I'm pretty damn busy myself. I got my family. I've got this entire consulting business that I probably work 10, 12 hours a day. I've got kids in travel sports. That takes up more time than my actual business. And we got games and practices pretty much every day. And yet still, I find time to do this. And now I usually only do the gig work. Some weeks I don't drive at all, but other weeks I might drive, 10, 15 hours, right? And if you're averaging, say, $30 an hour, and you can find, and it's not 10 hours all at once, it's 2 hours here, an hour there, 3 hours there. A lot of this stuff I just fit into my normal day. My wife loves it because I go pick up the groceries now at Walmart. She doesn't have to anymore. So she'll go, hey, babe, I got a grocery pickup. And I go, hey, no problem. I turn on my apps because I know I'm leaving anyway. I wait in my office until I see a pretty decent offer that I might want to do at Walmart. And then I'll get one. Oh, $35 to go deliver these groceries. Okay, I drive to Walmart. I get my wife's groceries, which I had to have gotten anyway. Then they put in the other people's groceries. I go deliver those around, usually right around my neighborhood, and then come back home with my groceries. I made $35 for picking up my family's groceries. You don't have to so what?
Here's an excuse that we've heard over and over, which is, I don't want other people in my car.
Fine. You don't have to have other people in your car. That's only if you're going to do Uber or Lyft. In fact, when I first started, I didn't like grocery delivery. I didn't like food delivery. I only did Lyft. And I actually enjoyed it. I enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy talking to them. I even thought about starting a segment like the cash cabs, because I've been talking to, especially these younger people I'm dropping off at a job or something. And so I start talking to them. How much are you paying for this ride? And how much are you making? And then I'd start talking to them about, it might make more sense for you to get a license and get a car and start driving yourself and then start doing what I'm doing on the side rather than paying somebody else to take you to a job that you're only making $15 an hour,
Well, plus you met really interesting people. You had the narcoleptic phone sex worker.
But I do meet all kinds. But these days when I drive Lyft, I usually only drive the highest tier, the black tier. And I actually enjoy it. You do meet a lot of very successful people when you do that. And I enjoy having, I've had people in my car that I would literally pay money to, have 20 minutes with them and pick their brain a little bit and talk to them about their life and how they got to where they're at and things like that. I had the road manager for, I can't remember if it was Pink Floyd, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Just happened at random. It was the end of a concert, whatever. And it was like, he was sharing all kinds of crazy stories about the band over the years and things like that. So it was just very cool and very interesting. But the thing is, the biggest thing people think about is, I don't have time. I can't do it. I'm too busy. I'm embarrassed by it, right? I don't want to be delivering groceries. That's beneath me. I'm a corporate executive or whatever. You had a good story about a corporate executive years ago that used to take people when he would drive into the city. He would, grab an Uber passenger.
He'd leave his rich neighborhood and turn on Uber, and then pick up somebody on his way to driving down to the corporate office. So
yeah,
he made money both ways. The other one that always blew my mind was we were in Florida, needed a lift from the hotel to the airport, and a woman pulls up with groceries in the back, and she goes, "Yeah, I just came from the store. You're going my way." So I figured, why don't I just get paid for it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, you don't have to do Lyft and Uber and DoorDash. There's any kind of side hustle this will work. But Steve, let's jump into the numbers, because when you really start looking at this, it's just how can you not do it? And what really gets me excited is the numbers for the younger people. Just because I have this all kind of started when my son, my oldest is 18, and he's going to be staying at the house, going to local college here. And he's getting his license, and we're talking about setting him up with like DoorDash and Instacart and things like that. And you set him up with an Acorns account, right? And we start going over the numbers with him, and he's even starting to get excited about this because he doesn't have a job, and he's living at the house with no bills. If you're still young enough, if you're still at the house, you've got no bills. I know you think you know everything, but trust me when I tell you, when you still live at your parents' house and you have no bills, that is the best time in your life to work and invest that money while you don't have to pay rent and you don't have to pay for most of your food, and you're not paying your phone bill. In DoorDash, if you're 18 years old, you could go DoorDash, Instacart, all that stuff. You could easily invest $2,000 a month. You can put that money in a retirement account. Most people say, no, you can't. You can only put $7,000 in an IRA. We're not going to talk about it in this video, but you can set up a solo 401k, because now you're going to be self-employed. You can get a solo 401k, not hard to do. And now you can put up to $23,000 and sometimes even more in that account every single year.
Since we're not talking about it,
I just threw it out.
Just put every dollar into the standard savings account. There's no limit with that. You just get started. Now, Damon, we're talking about, you're going to give us some numbers, but my final thing about excuses.
We've been teasing those numbers for a while now.
We have. But if you have an excuse why you can't make some sort of side hustle money, then you also need to come up with excuses about why you don't want to be a millionaire. They're hand in hand. If you're going to say all the reasons why you can't do it, then you need to be prepared to own the fact that you're not going to be a millionaire. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start numbers.
Let's start with my favorite.
What? I just want to make sure that we're also focusing on a lot of people who listen to this podcast who might be 40 years old.
I got it. But the first numbers are going to get them excited, because a lot of the people that listen to our podcast probably have kids.
Yep.
And those kids are probably and if you're like me, if you've got kids, setting your kids up for financial success is probably more exciting than setting yourself up for financial success. It's not to say that's less important or more important, but I'm motivated more by making sure my kids are successful than making sure I'm successful, right? Because to me, I won't be here forever, right? I'll be one day dead and gone. And for me, having my kid retire, he's 65, and have millions of dollars in an account, just every once in a while might remind him of, I'm sure glad my dear old dad did that for me, even though I'm gone by that point, right? That'll be one thing that they can, remember me by. And whenever they're like, okay, I'm set, I remember the lessons my dad taught me, put this money in there, never spend it. I'm so glad I did. I got $5 million in this bank account because of the lessons my dad taught me. So anyway, I digress before I get choked up. If you're 20 years old, you invest $2,000 a month. And before, again, where am I going to get? 2 days ago, I made $140 in one afternoon. $2,000 a month is only $500 on the side, especially if you're living at home, you don't have a regular job, you've got no bills. You can make $500 a week driving around doing DoorDash and Instacart. I guarantee you. And maybe I'll do what do I call it? Driving with Damon or something.
Yeah.
We'll do some more YouTube videos about that. But I do those videos on YouTube on the Penny Stupid Project, and I do the ride-alongs. I show you how I do it and how I make different decisions and how I decline jobs and all that stuff. Anyway, $2,000 is not hard to do. Okay, $2,000. You invest that money for just 5 years. I'm not talking about investing it for 50 years. I'm just saying do this from the time you're 20 until you're 25 and invest that $2,000 a month. Stupid simple. Put it into Acorns. Put it into whatever you want, a 401k, whatever. Even if
and
it's
then
just
never save again.
Yeah,
only do it for 5 years.
And 5 years, and then you move out at 25, and you go, now I got life. I don't have any money to save. Whatever. I got rent. I got all this stuff, and you just left it alone when you're 25. You moved out of your house. You left your retirement account alone, and just let it sit there. Never delivered another damn burrito. That's it. You're done. 20 to 25 at an 8% return, which is the average market return over the last, I don't know how many, 30, 40, 50 years, you will have in your account by the time if you at 70 years old, which the average retirement age is what now, 68 and a half, something like that?
It's not to depress people too much, but 90% of Americans can't afford to retire before they're 70.
Yeah. So Mr. 20-year-old, Mrs. 20-year-old, I'm talking to you right now. You do this for 5 years. You will have $5.3 million in your retirement account when you're 70 because you delivered some burritos when you were a kid and you never thought about it again. That's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Do it now while you have no bills. Now, if you say it's impossible, I live in a small town, there's no way I can make $2,000 a month, fine. What if we did $1,000 a month? That's $250 a week. That's 2 nights a week for a couple of hours. That's it. Put $1,000 a month. You're 20 years old, just 5 years now, and then you quit and you stop doing it. That's still $2.6 million. You're still a multi-millionaire by making an extra $250 a week throwing pizzas at people's front door. That's it. Okay? Now, if you were really a go-getter and you said, well, what if I didn't stop after 5 years? What if I just kept doing it? Again, you don't have to be doing DoorDash for 50 years, but just had some kind of side hustle throughout your life, putting that $2,000 a month away. And I know people, it breaks their brain. Where in the hell am I going to get $2,000? But that's the magic of part-time work. That's the magic of the side hustle. If you did it from 20 to 70, that's where you'd have just under $16 million saved up. That's generational wealth at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no secret to it. It's now if you're 40.
Now, for those old fogies like me, I'm 47. I'm in that demographic. I'm about to push into the Steve demographic of the really old people. About to hit that 50. But if you're 40, which is our key demo for this podcast, 40 to 50 years old, right in there, and you are stretched thin. Maybe you're helping your aging parents. You've got kids that are still at the house or about ready to go to college. You're hitting your overtime. You are just completely maxed out and you have no extra money. Again, I can show you guys how to do that. I'm pretty maxed out. I'm pretty stretched, but yet I can still find a couple hours here and there, a couple days a week to go do this kind of stuff. But if you're 40 years old, you can make that extra $500 a week. I can show you how to do that. If you did that from 40 to 70 for the next 30 years, $2.98 million, basically $3 million. So if you're sitting there and you're 40 years old and you've got no retirement or you've had some setbacks and had to use the retirement, had a job loss, whatever, and you're sitting here starting to stress, like I've got a short time horizon. I've only got 30 years till I retire. Here's a way you can get $3 million in. Now, if you can only save $1,000 a month because you're really stretched thin, same thing. That's still $1.5 million. If you can only do $1,000, if you can only do just $500 a month, $100, $125 a week, you could do that one night a week. One night a week, you can go out for a couple hours and you can make enough to put $500 a month away. That's still $750,000 by the time you retire. And I know it's not the multi-millions we're talking about, but again, I'm talking about if you can spare a couple hours one night a week, you can have an extra $750,000 in a retirement account. And if you don't think that's that much, if you think about typically when you retire, you might draw down, 5% of your principal in retirement. That's going to be $37,000 a year. $37,000 a year. And you might think, well, that's not very much. Well, it'll probably be more than the Social Security that you're getting. And $37,000 a year is about $3,000 a month. So think of this trade-off. Would you sacrifice $500 a month today to get $3,000 a month in retirement every month until you died? That's what we're talking about. Go out and make an extra $500 this month, get that invested. That will turn into an extra $3,000 a month when you retire. It's not hard to do.
So if you're struggling with debt right now, Damon, Steve, I don't have any extra money. I'm dying with the debt. It's killing me. Talk to Damon. Go to his website, damonday.com. Let's tackle the debt because we need to use every available second moving forward. Time is the enemy here to get you on a path that you're going to be secure when you're retired, get ready to retire. Because here's the thing I've always told people all the years, which is if you don't have the time right now to focus on when you're going to need this money in the future, I want you to write yourself a letter and I want you to tell your future self what kind of cat food you want to eat. Because, there's a concern over any sort of future public safety net and what you're going to do. And if you're going to have enough money to retire, here's the way. This is the stupid, simple way to do it.
Yeah, and if you're approaching 50, for one last set of numbers here, if you're like me and now you're approaching 50 and you go, that's too late. I'm already 50 years old. I ran some numbers for us guys that are almost 50 or at 50. If we do this $2,000 a month, again, I could do that in my sleep on these side hustles. It's not hard to do. $2,000 a month. We have a 20-year time horizon still, even though we might be sore every morning when we're getting up. We still have 20 years before that magical retirement age. That's still almost $1.2 million. Again, it's not the magical $5 million, but I don't know about you, but I certainly wouldn't hate having an extra $1.2 million in my retirement account just by slinging some burritos or some groceries right now. And it's not hard to do.
If you want to do these calculations yourself, I have a calculator on the getoutofdebt.org website. I'll put a link to it in the description for this podcast so that you can find it. Damon, I think we should probably wrap this up.
And if you can't find the link, just go to the getoutofdebt.org website, go to search, and just type in financial calculator. It would be the first one that pops up.
All right, Damon, we've given people a lot of information to think about. The takeaway here is look at the links, follow the links in the description. If you want a coach to handhold you through getting going, go to damonday.com and set up a consult with him. He's really, really good at this stuff. Until next time, Damon, I will see you.
Peace.
Got a money question keeping you up at night? Well, don't just Google it. Get real answers from real people who actually know what they're talking about. Head to getoutofdebt.org/podcast to ask your question, and you might hear it on an upcoming episode. But hey, if you'd rather keep it private, Damon Day has your back. Visit damonday.com because getting out of debt is easier with the right help. That's getoutofdebt.org/podcast, where smart money questions lead to smarter money moves.